All right, good morning, everyone. We'll get started with the October 22nd, 2025 Statewide 911 Advisory Board meeting. Michael Yoakley present. Senator Neil Anderson. Senator Bill Cunningham. Representative Mike Coffey. Representative Angie Guerrero-Villar. Ralph Caldwell.
President Springfield.
Demond Dade.
Present.
Laura Daly.
President WebEx.
John Ferraro.
Present.
Tim Hightower.
Present. WebEx.
Anthony Isla. Anthony, I believe I see you on WebEx. You may need to unmute yourself.
Hey, sorry about that. I'm present. WebEx.
Thank you. Bill McCarty.
Present.
Sam McLaren.
Present. Springfield.
Randy Naird. Lauren Neal. Dina Purdue.
Here.
Deb Piscola.
Present. WebEx.
Carla Red. Melinda Wolker.
Present.
And Linda Zerba.
Here.
All right. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the September 15th, 2025 meeting minutes. Were there any edits necessary to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, John Ferraro.
John?
Second, Ralph Caldwell.
Thank you, Rob. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. The next item on our agenda is a legislative update. I don't have any specific items or pieces of legislation that I wanted to discuss, but I'd like to leave this item on the agenda. Is there any that you all are aware of or think we need to discuss as a board? Okay. All right. So the next item is we have fully executed our statement of work with Illuminate Strategies. They actually were at IFSA, and so I think a lot of you got the opportunity to meet them. They're actually here with us today, and I've asked them to come up and give us a little bit of a kickoff. So, Kent, if you want to come forward.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Nice to meet you. I'm Kent James, and I'm the Executive Director. I'll be in charge of leading the strategic plan development, and I'm looking forward to working with each of you. Behind me, I have the team that will be assisting in this project as well, and our approach very broadly is very collaborative. We're not coming in with a predefined template. We're going to be working with you, capturing yours and your stakeholders' opinions and ideas, and we'll be incorporating all of that and providing very frequent updates. So again, looking very much forward to working with you and your stakeholders.
Ken, do you want to take a minute and just introduce your team since there's some of the people that we'll be hearing from?
Absolutely. Steve, come on up and just say hi real quick.
Good morning, Steve Eccles, retired from Peoria PD and 41 years in the military besides that. And many of you people in this room, like you, kept me alive while I was on the street, so I appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to help bring this upgrade into our state. Thank you.
Mark Walker, I retired out of the Air National Guard of the state of Illinois after 34 years. I helped stand up the Rapid Results Office for the state of Illinois and CMS, worked with numerous state agencies so far in process improvement efforts. Happy to be here.
Good morning, Seth Gashby. I'm a process optimization consultant. I hold a master's degree in quality engineering. I'm excited to be a part of this project.
And myself again, Kent James. I've been doing process optimization specifically with governmental organizations internationally for almost 30 years now. So lots of experience, not just with creating white papers, but helping with implementation and making sure what we create is very tactical. So, and that will be applied here.
Ken, do you want to talk just a little bit about kind of the first steps and the first things that they can expect from your team?
Absolutely. Our very first step is we'll be reaching out to the board members and trying to schedule time with you to have one-on-ones. And in those sessions, we'll be talking about the objective of the strategic plan. We want to capture your ideas, opportunities to improve from your perspective, how to engage further with you and stakeholders that you represent. Again, our approach is to be very collaborative. And then we will aggregate all of what we hear and present frequent updates to you at each of the board meetings. That'll be the next steps. So it'll be engaging with you directly. And again, we'll be very open to how and where that happens. You know, in some cases, we prefer in person, but if it needs to be Teams or WebEx meetings, that's fine as well. And we're fine with traveling and meeting at your location or whatever works best and have a really productive, you know, again, we're looking for meaningful interactions and discussions.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board?
I have a question. John Ferraro. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, sir.
So I know we talked a little bit about it offline, but will there be an opportunity for a workshop like where we're all together, sort of?
100%. Yeah, 100%. So the initial approach is for us to spend time with each of you, find those preferences, find those engagements. You know, again, I want to individually hear from you. We'll aggregate that together, and 100% will be working together as a group as well.
Thank you.
And Ralph Caldwell, do you know the timeline when you're projected to have a draft?
Ideally within the next couple of months. The engagement right now is set to be complete by the end of this fiscal year. So, but we want to be, again, this isn't you don't see it till it's end. Okay?
Right.
We're very collaborative. We'll incrementally show you where we're going, what the plan is, and we do have that. And in the individual discussions, we'll go over that in a lot more detail.
Thank you.
So moving forward, we will be providing regular updates. We'll probably take some board meetings. Those will be the opportunities for us to convene and discuss as we move forward through the project. The other thing is Alicia and I were speaking and sure to include that on her administrative update. So we keep as many folks as informed as possible. So if there are any questions about where we are with things, you know, you all know how to get a hold of me. So, and thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
The next item on the agenda, the financial report, was distributed in advance of the meeting. Is there any questions with regard to the financial report? Did Sheila make it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, stand up. Do you want to come forward and just give that brief update we talked about in terms of we're still in discussions?
On the surcharge?
Yes.
So of course, this has been ongoing for several months now with the decrease in surcharge revenue that the authorities have been seeing. And I think, as you mentioned, John, in your presentation, we've talked through several of those issues, but with one of our larger carriers, we have had some surcharge file issues. We've been ongoing with discussions with them. We did receive revised files. The results weren't what we expected, so we've gone back to them several times. The last call we had, they were going to go back to one of the VPs, and then I've been trying to get a meeting scheduled with the contact there that I think it probably helps get us some resolution. We had a call with Cook County because they really seen some significant discrepancies in when they brought, when they did consolidation, and so that kind of pushed this a little bit further. So I'm hoping to have this call scheduled with her this week, and so we'll have more information then and know, we did run a test distribution and the results weren't what we expected and didn't line up with the explanations that they've given us for why the surcharge numbers were off on the subscriber counts. Any questions?
Thanks. So we continue to escalate the issue. We're not getting satisfactory answers, in my opinion. So we'll keep the board informed and we'll keep pressing the issue.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Linda Zerwin. At what point, we're escalating, but what's our recourse if they're not being responsive?
I have not specifically asked legal that question yet. As a matter of fact, I think that the next, we are at a VP level. I think that we're probably going to need legal in on the conversation. So that's definitely something I can take back to Liz and ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate the work that everybody's been doing, but if they're not getting responses so we can clean it up, then that's not helpful.
Well, and as Sheila said, we get responses and they don't jive. Like, I sometimes feel like we're getting a response just to get a response.
And it's going to be in play.
Mr. Chair, John Ferraro.
Sir.
So if I understand it correctly though, because Sheila mentioned Cook County, are these specific to certain authorities or is this, so some of the authorities may see some improvements, but it's not going to improve the overall picture if we get
Correct.
Okay.
We feel as though the explanation for the majority of the state are the things that we've already discussed in terms of the increase in network cost. We ran through the federal money. So this really is going to be specific to Cook County.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Our next item on the agenda is the administrator's update.
We are still at 124 PSAPs to date cut over to the EZNet. We have one PSAP remaining, which is targeted to cut over in December. And the ISP communication centers are targeted to cut over in January and February. And then that will be the end of cutting all of that over. So we just have a little bit longer to go. Regarding text to 911, 95 PSAPs have received their text ready notice from Intrado and have already or in the process of deploying text. 66% of the PSAPs right now have registered as text ready with the FCC. Both of these initiatives are in response to the EXA requirement that all PSAPs need to accept text by December 31st of 2025. Regarding the AT&T redundant network connections project, there are 15 completed orders, 27 active orders and 13 orders being worked on right now. For the fiscal year 27 grants, opportunities will be posted on November 3rd, as the first is a Saturday, and there will be a technical assistance session on November 5th. Invites have been sent out to the PSAP leadership and system managers. You will also be able to find that recording on the website after it is done. Regarding telecommunicator and telecommunicator supervisor training and certification, content is being finalized with the training coordinating committee, and we are working with procurement on a learning management system. For a CESA update regarding the 3 pilots, the 12 response pilot is now complete. They continue to meet bi-weekly as a group and with the priority dispatch pilot is nearing completion, and the APCO pilot, the protocol for in review. Statewide implementation for CESA has begun. Our first cohort was identified of 23 PSAPs. This cohort is made up of total response and priority dispatch protocol users, and they were notified of membership in the first cohort on October 3rd. There was an informational meeting for the 911 system managers, PSAP leadership, agency stakeholders, and MCR teams associated with those PSAPs on October 15th, and 2 additional Q&A sessions, one on October 17th and the others tomorrow on October 23rd, for all of those interested parties to ask questions and get some more information about what implementation looks like. And the next steps will be telecommunicators will be registered for training, and that information will be sent out this week to the PSAP contacts for those 20. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, next topic is parts 13, 24, 25, and 26. We're going to go through these individually. We're going to take them a little out of order. We're going to start with 24. I'll hand it over to Cindy.
Yes, I think with the last exchange we had at the last board meeting, there were just a few things that needed to be addressed. We went back and updated the local exchange carrier definition so that it matches the Public Act. The other thing that we did is network costs. We had some comment from the IBCA on that. We replaced the draft definition with the definition that is in ETSA. There was some request, and that was added as a comment from the IBCA that we should have some additional reference to network costs. So we probably need to have a brief discussion on that to see, do we want to put that in a different place in the rules? It probably really shouldn't go in the definition section. So I'm at this point take any comments on that particular paragraph that IBCA is suggesting they want to include in the definition, but we don't think that makes sense. And but where would we want to put it, if we want to put it in the rules at any point?
This is Randy Nair with the Broadband and Telecom Association. The definition added in this latest version for local exchange company, or local exchange carrier, excuse me. Where'd you pull that from?
I got it from the Telecommunications Act. I went back to the already did it. Is it not accurate? If it's not accurate, I'll change it.
I don't think that there is a specific definition for local exchange carrier in the PUA. There is for incumbent local exchange carrier, or maybe competitive local exchange carrier, but not local exchange carrier. There is a definition in part 730 and 737 of the commission's rules that define local exchange carrier that would be preferable to this one, I think.
So this definition I have here isn't the ICC definition, is that what you're saying?
I don't believe so. Sam, go ahead.
County, you're right, Randy, there's not a specific definition for local exchange. It is incumbent or competitive. I cannot recite the definition offhand, but part 730.
I'll go ahead and now confer with Sam and make sure I find the right information, and we'll update it to match the ICC's definition.
That leads to the question, incumbent or competitive, or how do you differentiate? How we look at it?
Well, I think that's, the question I have further, I guess, is what precipitated adding the definition at this late stage, because it hadn't been in there before, in the previous rulemakings.
Yeah, we refer to it in the plans, the consolidation and modification plans, that the systems have to identify their local exchange carriers that provide service in their area. That's why we have the definition. This is the point.
So for that point, then I think, I mean, and I need to kind of review it all in conjunction, but I noticed those 2 points, but then what do you want? You want all local exchange carriers. You wouldn't just want incumbents at that point. You want to make sure you're capturing basically all OSPs, really.
Right.
If that's the case, then I guess my feeling is the best definition I could find, if we had to include something to replace that, would be the one in part 730 and identically in 737 of the commission's rules. And I could provide that as well, because that would cover all X, not just incumbents or competitive, I think.
Okay.
And then we would certainly want probably the commission to review that to make sure as well. Thank you.
Yeah, if you can send that to me, Randy, and then I'll make sure I run it by Sam, and, you know, if we can agree that that definition is the way we'll go, then we'll certainly make that change as part of the approval process.
Sounds good.
All right, so the next one was the network cost. This definition that is here in your current version is from the Act. The IDCA wanted to add some additional language, which is indicated in the comments section. Michael and I had a discussion about this and didn't feel that we should, put it in as non-italicized within the definition. The definitions that are coming from the Act are always in italics. Yes, we do have some definitions that we have added that support the rule. Those are not italicized. But to blend the italicized network costs with the suggested IDCA language, we didn't feel was the right approach. Now, if the board felt like we wanted to include this network cost may also include section, we would find another place in this particular rule to include that. Well, actually, network cost appears in all three of them.
Okay, you were just gonna ask if you could say what page you're on or how you're going.
I'm just looking at the
Make sure we're on
network
same
cost
page.
definition on page 6.
It's up here, but also, before we move on from a point, if we're trying to get consensus on this, do we as a board want to talk about the actions that Cindy and Sam are going to take and let them move forward if they're in agreement, or are we going to have to bring this all back? And I don't know the proper procedure, but
So,
on each of these points, if we're in agreement on these last things, are we going to want to try to get consensus? Because I would be comfortable with the language that's suggested if Sam and Cindy work together on moving that forward and not holding up having consensus here, but I feel like it might be easier if we talked about each point.
Yeah, so I'll look to the board and let's back up to
We go too fast sometimes.
the local exchange carrier. Let's, as the board discuss that, is the board comfortable with if Cindy works with Randy and then we get, concurrence from Sam, taking that direction for that?
Yes.
Is there any disagreement with that? Okay. So then, The next one on page 6 being the definition of network costs. Again, it's our perspective that this definition should match the legislation, and that adding the additional language muddies the water. And I just don't know that this belongs in rule, so I need to know how the board feels about that. Are we comfortable with just moving forward solely with the definition to match the legislation? And any of this additional, in my opinion, that belongs somewhere later, perhaps in FAQs or something like that.
Mr. Chairman, this is Deb Piscola. That is our thinking as well.
I'm sorry, Cindy, can you repeat the new language that was added here?
So it's the comment that's, indicated up here. That was the proposed additional language to the network cost definition.
So since this came from the IBCA and Deb has indicated that they're comfortable with moving that to FAQs, I would say we stick with the legislative definition and nothing additional added.
Mr. Chairman, while we are also on, and I apologize, there's a large echo. Well, we're done with this discussion. I do have another comment on definitions.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like the term cloud-based services is frequently used. However, I do not see a definition of cloud-based services in 324, nor am I aware of a definition anywhere else in Illinois law. We want to propose a definition for cloud-based services.
Yeah, I think part of, I agree with Deb on that. We probably should put a cloud-based services definition. One of the things that in this last go-round of updating 1324 was you do call out the requirements of the plans, the consolidation plan and the modification plans. And so in squaring that up to what the current plan template is, there was some disjointedness. So I evened them out so that everything was correct. And accurate to what we're currently looking for from the plan submittals. So, yeah, we probably should put a cloud services definition in that. In those. If you let me do the same thing, I can run it by, with Dino and Randy and Sam, and we can, settle on a definition if the board's okay with that, and we can proceed. And done. Oh, and done. Yes, of course, yes.
Thank you. That is fine.
All right, so the next definition that was added was next generation 911 core services. We made mention of it in the rule, but we didn't have a definition for it, so that's been added. That's on page 7. Everybody good with that? All right, so the next changes are on page 13, under application for 911 consolidation plan. So this is where I kind of trued up the language to what the current plan template is. Actually, there's some change on both sides, so it's all even. New templates are in the process of being, or the current templates are in the process of being updated, and they match what is indicated here under application for 911 consolidation plan. Just really kind of, it just cleans up the language.
So that's all the way through to this whole section is all clean up then?
Yes, it's all cleanup, and then we did add a section beginning on page 18 that really define, well, the current rules relative to, once the plan is submitted, what's the process, and then hearings and so on and so forth, was really all over the place. So we worked with our attorney to, I provided a draft, we worked with our attorney, she reviewed it to kind of clean it up so that it's an understandable flow. Previously, it was really all over the place. So that beginning on 18 under D, upon receipt of the consolidation plan, that clearly now lays out what's the timing once you submit a consolidation plan. So the first part just cleans up and matches up the language here to the actual plan templates, and then replaces, you'll see that if you go farther down, that we obviously deleted everything that was there, that covered that flow. It's crossed out beginning on page 21. And the previous information then just more clearly lays out what that process is, providing guidance to not only the submitter of the plans, but the reviewers of the plans. All of that falls under 1324 So beginning on page 12 and then running through. Running through page 23, it'll end up being less than that once we accept the deletion of the original language.
Chair, we're looking for consensus? On that part?
I'm sorry.
Are we looking for consensus on that section?
Yeah, or any questions?
Okay, are there any objections?
All right, the next section, 210, is on requirements for requests for waivers. That begins on page 23. We didn't have a whole lot in this section. We do have a template or, plan document, if you will, or a document. So cleanup was done there to provide more guidance to the system that should there be future consolidation or, some other need to request a waiver, it's documented. And that's in section 1324, 210, beginning on page 23.
Any concerns with 210? Anything on 220?
No. There's nothing on 230. The next section would be 1324, 300. This is the types of modification plan. Similar to the consolidation plan, these were trued up side by side as we work with improving the template. We wanted to make sure that the rows matched up. So these are the changes. There's really just a few. There's one comment about the cloud base in number 2, 1324, 300 A2. And then if you jump down to the next section, that's the actual plan document, and that's where you'll see some red changes that really just kind of cleaned that up and made it consistently match what the template is.
Concerns with 300 or 310? Seeing none, I'm going to offer the opportunity for any public comment on each of the rules as we go through them. So is there any public comment on 1324 at this time? Okay. 1324, we've discussed, we have some specific edits that we called out in the definitions that we're going to allow Cindy to work with Randy, Deb, Sam, Dina. Sorry, Dina.
I'm trying to get ready for the next one.
With that in mind, I would like to entertain a motion for consensus to move 1324 forward in the JCAR process.
I'll make the motion to approve with the edits already mentioned. John.
John.
I'll second it.
Ralph Caldwell.
Yes.
Simon Dave.
Yes.
John Ferraro.
Yes.
Bill McCarty.
Yes.
Sam McLaren.
Yes.
Linda's over.
Yes.
I feel like there should be like some confetti or something.
Is this my party gift?
All right, so next we're gonna move on to, we're gonna jump to 1326.
So 1326, subpart F was called miscellaneous. So we changed it, or I changed it, so it really matched up what the section was, which was records and records retention. Definitions. Network costs, we really addressed that in 1324. This is the ETSA definition. And the IBCA comments will be part of an FAQ based on our previous conversation. Then we go down.
I'm sorry, I just had one little comment. It's a typo on page 7 under the next generation costs. The third line says with the advice of the statewide 21911.
Oh,
Yes, you can see it.
okay. Okay, let's see, the next section. Well, vendor, we added in 911 authorities into that definition. And then space needs to be added between boycott, outcome, and the final. Everybody okay with that?
The definition of vendor?
Yes, it's in the definition of vendor that at the end we added for which it incurs network costs for one or more 911 authorities.
Any other concerns on the definitions?
Under 1326.120, on page 11, under the statewide 911 administrator has the following responsibilities. We received comments from APCO and DINA, and those have been added and or updated within section B, subsection B. So number 5 and number 6 were added.
Mr. Chair, John Ferraro. So our comments have been pretty consistent on this from the beginning on 1326, specifically number 5 under small letter B on page 11. To determine acceptable use of surcharge, we feel that this is just the comments we've received from around the state. There's a lot of concern that this is too much for the statewide administrator and it's not really under the purview of the statewide administrator. For historical purposes, the use of surcharge has always been governed at the local level by ETSBs, and there hasn't been an issue to our knowledge, except for some hearsay several years ago. So this is really prescriptive, puts a lot of onus on the statewide administrator. We just are concerned, and really, it's a small amount of words to really capture the huge amount of responsibility that that is. And we just would like to further discuss this because it is worrisome and troublesome to many around the state.
So my question is there language that could be potentially added to this that would bring a level of comfort or address the concern.
This is Ralph Caldwell. It's already covered with the local ETSBs tell us how to spend our money. That's already in a public act. And as far as guidelines, we already have guidelines through the FCC, and I think we adopted those somewhere in our language, in our public act. So we just don't see the need for that. There's tremendous pushback on this from our statewide associations, and we just don't believe we can move forward if this is in the act or in the rules.
What if it said something like to determine acceptable use of surcharge in accordance with FCC guidance?
But don't we already state that we're going to follow the FCC guidelines? I mean, we just don't see a need for this in there. So I understand what you're saying. You're trying to water it down a little bit or make it acceptable. We probably would have to regroup with our associations to see if that is palatable.
Because it's really, sorry, this is John Ferraro again, it's really changing direction from the past. Now, I understand that the statewide administrator's office has received questions through the years, and this is probably put in there to address some of those questions, like what the statewide administrator says, but those ETSBs per the act should be making those determinations. So
So why
we're
not
still,
change it to determine acceptable use of surcharge in accordance with the act?
well, I think that when we look at the FCC language, right, that's enough. It's not really
It's in the act.
it's not the statewide administrator determining it, it's the FCC language that's determining it. And that's what 911 systems around the state are already doing. They're in compliance with the FCC language. So to say that it's the statewide administrator's responsibility is too much for us to accept.
Mr. Chairman, Monday, instead of adding to it, why can't we just omit it? It was added, we could just strike through that, move forward.
Ralph Caldwell, also, just to add to that, you know, if there was a problem statewide with how people were spending their surcharge funds, you know, we could probably have further discussion on this, but at this point in time, we've been doing this for how many years? We've always, you know, following our ETSB's guidelines and the FCC guidelines. It's working. You know, if there's a problem with the system that's not working, let's start talking about those issues. But why do we keep addressing allowables if it's working? It just doesn't make sense to our associations. We're trying to understand it, but we're not having a problem spending our surcharge money. We don't have enough surcharge money. So this is just one of our pet peeves that this keeps popping up in language for rules when we've already kind of tabled it, so we thought, until you put it back in again. So it's kind of frustrating some of our membership that this keeps reappearing and without discussion, basically. I know we're having discussion here, but we already have public acts in place that talk about overseeing surcharge. We have FCC guidelines. I know I'm being repetitive, but this is not needed, and it's not acceptable to us, if that makes sense.
And John, for our one final comment, if the concern is accountability, there is accountability with the AFR on what we spend $911 on. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask why this was more defined in the rules? What was the background for this being more descriptive?
I think the primary basis is there is a number of questions that constantly come to the administrator's office about acceptable use of surcharge money. That's really where it stems from.
Okay, so I didn't get any comments from the 8 large counties on this particular thing, but hearing that And reading that, it's almost two different things, because this is total authority to determine, and I think if it's coming from inquiry and people needing guidance, could it be, can you come back with some language that might be more in line with that? I don't know if it's responsibility or duty, things that come across the administrator's desk in terms of helping some 911 systems determine what's acceptable. Because that's a blanket authority in those few words, and it sounds like it's not something that the administrator would be seeking to do, it's in response to the request for guidance.
Let's move forward and we'll circle back on that.
So number 6, we added to establish uniform technical and operational standards for all 911 systems in Illinois.
This is more I've heard some comments that, that because there was such a diverse, operational, way we operate, that having one uniform, one person doing a uniform for all of them, is not appropriate. And that, again, it's the job of 911 directors with the approval of the TSPs to establish those.
I think that's what I'm just reading.
Yeah. We think it's in the legislation.
If it's in the legislation, does it need to be in the rules?
Let me see if my attorney's on the phone. Liz, are you on the WebEx? I think you are.
Hi, I'm here. Sorry. It's finding my unmoved button.
So Liz, the question is on page 11 of 1326, D6. We believe that 6 is specifically called out in legislation. The question is, if it's in legislation, does it have to be in the rules?
Well, I don't know that the answer is that easy. So the rules are promulgated just to support the statute, right? The statute rules. So it doesn't necessarily have to be here. The rules are clarifying. So if there's clarification needed, it should be here. Does that answer the question?
I mean, it's pretty much verbatim as it's stated in the legislation.
And so the issue is someone doesn't want it in the rule? So if it's verbatim, I guess, what's the problem with it being in the rule?
I guess it's fine, I just didn't see,
Yeah.
that's fine.
But Ralph Caldwell weighing in on this one, if it's already defined word for word in the legislation, it's redundant to put in the rules, there's no clarification from that line, because it's already in the rules, so why would we, I mean, if that's the case, let's put everything in the legislation in the rules, which does not make sense, by the way, I mean, sarcastic on that one, but, it's easy, to me, it's simple, the attorney's on the phone, I think it's easy just to remove that number.
But, and I guess a lot of time when you're looking for direction, you're looking to the rule. So it should be helpful to have it there.
We'll remove it.
All right, so the section, subsection C, item number 3 was deleted. That was previously there. In 1326.310 on page 14, whatever reason had resellers and factory-based carriers, and IBCA suggested the change of facility, which of course is more accurate, so that change was made. Subchart F then took on the new title of records and records retention instead of, and replaced miscellaneous. That's on page 29. And that's the last change in 1326.
This is Melinda again, sorry. I believe last time, we had discussed the records retention and the 10-year, retaining them for 10 years. And I think there was a 2-factor thing. Two parts to it. One was, keeping it 10 years rather than 7. And also, we were gonna look into, it says that it's effective January 1st, 2016.
Yeah,
Which would make it.
Can you remind me what page you're on?
I'm sorry, 29 and 30. 29, C, bottom refers to, keeping records for 10 years.
See, my recollection on that conversation is that the state's requirement is to keep the records for 10 years. So in order to have the local records, we have to be consistent. And we did have that discussion when we were working through that, and left it at 10 years because that's our records retention.
But, yeah, and I'm not sure, I haven't seen where that is. Everything I have seen, and I could be wrong, but everything I've seen for financial records is 7 years.
Yeah, I think it's specific to our record retention, right? Because we have to have a schedule approved on our record retention. When we pulled our schedule, it is 10. And there are certain one-offs in Illinois record retention. I don't know why they are. I will tell you another one I'm aware of. Asset forfeiture, for some reason, is 14 years. I mean, which is also a financial record, you know, so.
Right. My report on my records retention tells me it was destroyed in after 7 years from the archives. But then also the other part of that is in E, it says effective January 1st, 2016.
Yeah, and I remember that.
We were gonna
And I,
make sure
yes,
of that.
and I think, and I'm glad Liz is on here, but I think we just, yeah, but if we're gonna make a change, I agree with Melinda, I don't think we can say as of 2016, we need to keep it for 10 years, because there are people who have records that are destroyed.
Which was still in that 10-year period.
Yeah. Liz, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you think there's a way we could word that such that it would only be moving forward?
Yeah, I agree. It was, we'll need to maybe change the effective date for when the old rule lapsed and the new one, because there's gonna be a gap. And I understand that. And we played around a little bit with the language. But yeah, I'll work on that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Melinda, if we adjusted the retention and said that the book shall be named in accordance with,
Maybe their records retention schedule, because they may all be different.
right,
And then, yeah.
right?
The same with C.
Yes. That's what I think we need to do.
That'd be great.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think if we're not required to submit something to you and you have your own schedule, that's your record. But if we've never had to give it to you, then we should be following our own statutes and ordinances.
And that's what the language is saying.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. All right. In section 120B, number 5 will be stricken. So now I will, is there anything else from the board before I set public comment?
I'm sorry, did you review what you were?
120,
What page?
page 11, 120B5. Yep. Seeing nothing from the board, I'll open the floor for public comment on 1326. All right, seeing no public comment.
Michael?
Yes?
I'm sorry, this is Jim Kychek with the sheriffs. Sorry, I raised my hand, but
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to reiterate, I know we have the same concerns under number B5 as well to determine acceptable use of surcharge. So I won't go through it again and bore you with that, but we have the same concerns.
Understood. Do we dare take a motion to move 1326 forward as well.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to move 26 forward as amended.
This is still karaoke. A second.
Mr. Chair, for discussion, Ralph Caldwell.
Sure.
Wanted to thank you for removing 5 for us. I know that wasn't an easy decision, but I know our membership is probably elated, whether they're on the call or not, or in person. So thank you for working with us on that. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Alright, so Ralph Caldwell,
Yes.
Demond
Yes.
John Farrar,
Yes.
Bill McCarter,
Yes.
Sam McLaren,
Yes.
Melinda Walker,
Yes.
and Linda Zerler.
Yes.
Two down. Moving on to 1325.
This is our favorite rule. I don't remember now who made the comments, but it looked like we had reporting in 2 places. So 1325, 560 is removed. And then obviously the numbering changed. I'm looking at the page, at page 2, page 1, right? I'm looking at page 2. So you'll see the changes as we move through the document. That's the first change you're seeing. Then, central office, there were some questions about that definition. So this definition that appears here in red, replace the draft definition with the Illinois Public Utilities Act definition.
Mr. Chair, I have a question about that, if I may.
Yeah.
Because we note that the definition of central office is already defined by the Illinois Administrative Code under 83-730.105. Where in the Illinois Public Utilities Act is this definition from?
It's in this section, but it's where it found the definition.
Deb, we're gonna have to get back with you on the exact citation.
So there was a comment. I'm sorry.
If you don't agree with it, you don't change. One question I have, would this cover, or do you have it here, the mobile switching offices as well? Because you would want to include that if you're including central office. And I didn't catch that until we started talking about this. So you may want to talk about that again.
Okay. The IDC had a comment on dispatchable location and that definition, but this is the definition that is in the ETSA. There was a question on emergency notification systems definition.
I'm sorry, can we go back to dispatchable location? My apologies, I couldn't get myself off of mute. There's a sentence missing that's in the ETSA that is not in the dispatchable location definition as it's currently written, and I can send you that missing sentence. I apologize, I meant to do that in advance of this meeting and ran out of time. It's really 2 words, quite frankly.
We'll compare and make a correction.
Okay.
So emergency notification systems, the sentence may include changeable message signs, sirens, telephone, and other media has been stricken. I think that addresses the current concerns of the group that Melinda represents. Melinda, do you agree?
Yes.
End user, we
Same thing on this one. It mirrors, but is not entirely verbatim from what is in the administrative code.
I think this definition is from the Public Utilities Act. That's where I got it from.
Oh, you are correct. I apologize, my reference was off. It is similar to the definition in the act, but it's not verbatim. More than happy to provide that information.
Okay. The exigent circumstance definition, we changed that to 4 hours. And, provided some further explanation in the comments for the board's reference.
What page is it?
It's 8.
Yeah, I apologize. Megan printed them out. I don't know why it didn't include the comments. The comments on it?
Yes, it was. Because that's what I downloaded this morning, and I had the comments.
Yeah, that's what Ryan is displaying is what was. Yeah.
Ryan, can you click on the box to where the comments are?
I'm working on it. It's too big.
Box on the right. Click on the-
Oh, I see what you're saying.
box middle. There you go.
is Melinda. I still feel like it's too short of a time. There are circumstances where, I mean, going back to COVID, where there will be times when, unfortunately, there are staffing issues that it would be longer than 4 hours. Just things could occur.
Melinda, would you propose a different time period, or are you proposing that there not be a time period?
I think removing time period would be best case scenario. Maybe add something like, I know there's some language somewhere added that they would be required to report for something, notify the state. I think that would be the most beneficial for everybody, rather than, saying they absolutely can't. It's like, what are they supposed to do? So, if it's for the form, then, if it's going to be for a long time, to notify the state.
Yeah, this Ralph Caldwell, I would support no time limit.
So what about a requirement to report to the state within a certain time period? Not putting a time limit on the length of the exigent circumstance.
I think that's,
Yeah.
I think that's correct.
yeah.
Is this term reasonable? I mean, it's vague, and then it's like, sorry.
Yeah.
No, this is Phil. I know it's like vague, right? But is a reasonable time. I mean, all of us, and I think it's the intent of all of us to let you know when we have our outage.
Yeah.
I mean, I got that outages where I couldn't call a friend even because I was dark. It was like, I had to drive to my next county over to get cell phone service. An exigent circumstance, right? But I don't like that, but I think we all want to be reasonable. And if we can't be reasonable with each other, then maybe we need to address it the next time around, put some time in it.
Okay, let us work on some language here.
All right, the next comment is on the interconnected voice service definition. So comments were received from the IBCA, and the 1325 definition was replaced with the ETSA definition.
Thank you.
So network cost,
I'm sorry, Cindy, this is Randy with the IBTA. No comment regarding that. I think it was a good catch by Deb, and thanks for correcting. I do recall, was there a definition that differed from this version in 1324, 1326 that we reviewed? I feel like there might have been. If that's the case, can we go ahead and make that correction?
Yeah.
In either of those as well, so they're also the same. Thanks.
network costs, we've discussed this already, this definition. So it is the ETSA definition. We talked about an FAQ relative to network costs. And that's it for the definitions. The next change was in 1325-120 on page 11. B. Or page 16.
16. It printed, I don't know why it's printed, but it's.
Okay, so, yeah, mine it says page 17, but okay,
Yeah.
I didn't say it. So, anyway, B, so we added that the site visit will be scheduled in advance with the 911 system manager. That nice?
Mr. Chair, on this language, while everyone should be in compliance today, we're making several changes. Is there a thought on when visits can commence? Like, can we give people a year from this being in effect before there's any type of audit? I think we need to give people an opportunity to see what the changes are.
Yeah, it's, so.
I'm sorry, compliance would be great.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We're not auditing anything.
My bad.
But yes, so we can, I'll talk to Liz about what sort of language we can insert there, but it will also take us longer than that to get ramped up to be ready to do it. So I think there's a fail-safe in two different ways there.
True, but in a local budget, it also sometimes takes more than one fiscal year to get funding for the things they may need to come in compliance with. So, and if there's language in there that states that so people can prepare, because they don't, and I have to have something to go to my board, my county board with to say it's happening, and until it's approved, I don't have any leverage really. I don't have any concrete, this is occurring.
All right, so 1325-220 is the next section. So looking at reports and records, and the section that we was duplicated, they've been kind of consolidated and streamlined. So there were comments from counties with a population of more than 250,000 that were taken into consideration. And then this has been updated to reflect the records that need to be collected.
This is Phil. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, but emergency calls transfer to 988 monthly to the DHS, is that a legislative requirement monthly?
I don't know if it's really defined in the legislation, but I know for tracking purposes, for regular report, timely report, I guess.
Timely.
Maybe go back and look at that.
If it's not legislatively, I think first of all, that's going to be difficult for some of us that have a 1933 CAD system. Anyway, for my 1933 CAD system, this is a lift, unfortunately. And for our phone system, either place that we look for it. I think I can do it, but when I have to say I think I can do it, it's gonna take some work. The rest of it is part of the system. The majority of the new phone systems as well do 911 calls by the hour, by the day. That's gonna be are you wanting that holistically, or are you wanting that report annually? That's kind of vague to me a little bit. I understand that we're looking for the busiest hours, and I think we all look at that, so we staff for that, or try. But I kind of, what are you looking for there? So that's, to me, that's a little bit. But those are my only. The rest of this looks like normal AFR reporting that we're doing already, except for those two things I pointed out.
We'll go back and look at the 98 reporting piece.
So it's 5 and 6, right? A1, A, 5 and 6, right?
And they
Oh, A, got it.
called by hour of the day. I mean, I don't know what it's specifically you're looking for. I mean, that's a huge report for every day, every hour, every day. I mean, are you looking for the trend?
You're looking for the trend.
I know what it is.
To establish
I know.
staffing and.
I try.
It's a fairly standard.
It is a standard report, but that's a massive report to give to.
We're not asking you to give us
Okay.
reports.
Okay. Understood.
Now, we might ask you when we come out to do the
Sure.
compliance, but
It's not the
we
audit.
don't have to send them to the statewide administrator monthly. It's really for your use to, plan and manage the operation of the center.
This is undeserved. If it's in my system and I can generate the report, why would I necessarily print a report? I mean, I can demonstrate that I have that data.
Who said anything about printing?
You're asking, you're talking, when you say records, and then you later on talk about records retention, you're kind of inherently tying those things together.
Or can't records retention be digital?
Well, not if I don't generate it from machine unless I need it. I can look at it, but I don't necessarily save it as a file.
I wouldn't be able to go back last year and look at what my call time per hour was going to be on October 22nd, 2023. Like unless I looked at it that day and captured that file and then saved it, and all that stuff. But I could go back, I don't know how long I can go back, but it does fall off the end. If I pick the date, I'd be wrong.
This is here. So page 18, number 2, just change the title there, incident reports to dispatch incident reports. And,
Cindy, this is Ralph, before we move forward, where do we land on the falls by hour of day? Where
we're gonna go back to some research.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to reword that.
Yeah, that's fine, I just
Yeah.
didn't hear that.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Because I understand what Phil's saying. I mean, it makes sense. So
Yeah, I mean, if you don't need it, we already have it, we already know how to use it. I don't know why we give ourselves extra work or busy work for that when we have other problems with staffing and financial crises.
All right, so page 19, number 4, system and equipment logs, we added C, logs can be maintained by either the PSAP or the ETSB. There was a comment made by, or a comment submitted by the counties over 250,000 relative to that, so that change was made. Under on page 20, number 5B, that was changed to annual reports from quarterly reports. B was added in that same section, so 5B, actually it's, so section B was added, which is on page 20.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna be added language because it says this data, and there's a lot of AB, when we look at this section, because we're in red line, it's a little hard to follow. I'm wondering if we could be a little more specific on that, because it says this data, and we don't really know what it's referring back to. Is there any, are we going back to a list for?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is Bill on that same D that we're talking about. Is the intent of this, and this is not for me because I'm, it just doesn't apply to me, but it applies to a lot of my colleagues, probably. Is this the sheriff's department answering for 911 and the sheriff's department's providing that data? Is that the intent for this?
Yeah, but each of the PSAPs are sending the data up to your office so that you have accurate statistics from each of the PSAPs.
Then I guess the only, and I'll have to, we can wait till public comment to ask this question because I can't really weigh in on this and I haven't had time to talk to them. But monthly data, unless it's December's month, yeah. Do we need it every month? December month I do, because I got a report due in 29 days. Or Lena does. But do we need that every month, and I really don't, I think I have to yield to some of the people that do operate those centers. I don't, so it's not appropriate for me to directly speak of that, and I haven't had a chance to talk to them.
So the next comment is in 1325-410, answering point physical security on page 24. The counties with a population between 37,000 and 100,000 have some concerns about visitors and access control. So the change there was adding number 2. Essentially, the 911 system facility shall be limited to authorized personnel only. Any comments? And, all right, so the next comment is in 1325-430 on page 27. Number 5, counties between 37,000 and 100,000. Had some questions about number 5, 6, and 7. 5 is a legislative requirement. 6 and 7 are reasonable minimum standards. So no changes were made here. This is the response to the comment.
This is Melinda. This is just a housekeeping thing. Number 8, it looks like it's a duplicate of number 3. Those 2.
The next comment is on page 38, I'm sorry, on page 28. Section H. The question was, there was a couple comments here, echoing a question whether correlated activities with available behavioral services is a requirement for them to report they are operating within a PSAP boundary. So, in conjunction with CESA, the Mobile Crisis Response Team is assigned in a EMS region. And so, as a part of the migration to implement the CESA legislation, each PSAP will know who the Department of Human Services arrangement is with the Mobile Crisis Response Team. So you'll know that in advance. So they have X number of Mobile Crisis Response Teams operating or providing service across the state, and they are regionally assigned. So you will get that information as a part of the implementation for CESA.
Mr. Chair, this is John Ferraro. Would it be possible to just add something along those lines? That, CESA will also have its requirements. Just, I think we all understand definitely understand what's being said here and our responsibilities, but when we're coordinating, it would be helpful that we just include that they're also going to be a part of it. That's all. Thank you.
The next comment was on page 30 and 1325, 510, under NG 911 data requirements and GIS standards. I think that list got jazzed up in the multiple versions that this part has gone through. And that's been corrected, so all 7 layers are identified here as required, and the section's updated. Like that. Under the next comment is, or change was in 1325, still in 510, D2. The question was, can a secondary person be a vendor if GIS services are contract? And the answer was no. 1325, 510, 2D, or D2, the local data steward must be a staff member of the city, county, or 911 authority responsible for the GIS data, even if a vendor manages the actual data maintainer. You want a go-to person from the system, not just a third-party vendor that you're going to be communicating about your local data. You don't have to have a secondary. I mean, that talks about us designating a secondary local data steward. You don't have to have one, but you have to have one. The next comment was on 1325, 520 on page 31. Not all PSIPs are on the state NG 911 system. So A was updated to indicate all NG 911 systems operating within the state. The next changes on page 32, section 1325.560 is the one that was really duplicitous or whatever, duplicating the previous section or another section, so that is completely eliminated. We did change some section numbers as we went down. The next comments were 1325, 620, transferring 911 calls. And so that, there was a comment about C and E are duplicated. So that was, C was updated, and there was also a change made to A to clarify that section. C was also changed to add the 90-day crisis counselor. The next was section 1325-640, quality assurance, quality improvement. So there was a rewording and proper citation added to the APCO standard. The next comment is 1325-730B. The counties with a population of more than 250. Comment was adding a CEU update course, but we're really not sure what you're looking for there, so we need some additional information. You know, is it a refresher course that you're looking for, like an exam prep class, like Nina does for the ENP? They have like a study group. We weren't really sure, because that's all the comment said was getting a CEU update course for that particular 1325-730 paragraph B or section.
Yeah, would be. I think our intent here was if you're already there, then there should be a refresher and an ability, you know, after time goes on, as opposed to a full-blown.
Need to recertify?
Yeah, kind of like, you know, when you do leads recertification, we're getting this right. Okay. I was looking at people in my group, that's what we were talking about. So you could do it in the same way. So you're reserting like in leads if you do it within a certain window kind of thing. And you're looking at, because you've already been there, you've already certified. So then what happens is it one and done, because the whole point of us doing this, and we've had numerous conversations about trying to grandfather people in. And we're kind of doing the same thing if we never do anything after.
So a recertification section needs to be added.
I don't know if it's a recertification, but at least a continuing education, that's a refresh and an update of what we're doing. I mean, I don't want to make people recertify necessarily, but I think there's something to be said for a continuing education course that's an update.
Okay. All right, we'll put some language in to address that. The next comment is in 1325-740, also on page 40. The upcoming comment was, will a list of individuals not eligible for testing be available as a background check for new hires? You know, my thought is that, yes, that information can be requested. You're going to have assuming as we're looking at moving forward with the learning management system, you're going to have a dashboard locally that's going to be able to show you what you have. Then there'll be a dashboard that Alicia will have access to that will show her everybody. When the training team got together on Sunday, we talked about, telecommunicators do not always just stay in the same place forever, they do move to other centers. And so the thought was, since everybody gets an SID number as a part of their, onboarding at the beginning of their career, that we would probably use an SID number to identify you, so that it wouldn't matter where you started and where you went to, your records would go with you. And so that was actually a great idea. I hadn't really thought about that, but that was a great idea. And so I think that's the way we're going to move forward. So I think that the answer to that really is, I don't think I could put that here, to reach out to Alicia and say, hey, we've got this applicant, this is their SID number, where are they at with the training, that kind of thing. If you wanted to do that as a part of your background. The other comment here is in the same section, but on page 41, number 6. I think we had the passing score initially here as 80, and I dropped it down to 75%. Further down in this section in B2, comment from Matt Conina was that 30 days was too long. I dropped it down to 14 days. And that was for scheduling an individual exam. Under the same, again, the same section C, number 1, the APCO meeting had some questions about when an existing TC has 2 opportunities to take the SCE within 1 year. If they fail 2 attempts, then they take the mandatory training and 2 more attempts to take the SCE. Essentially what we've done here is, essentially I think they're really getting 4 chances, essentially getting 4 chances. Within a 12-month period, that will be maybe some of them. So what we ended up doing here is we took number 1, C1 out, and just left that. I'm gonna have to look at that again. I think it just really has to be reworded to clearly identify what the process and flow is. If the telecommunicator takes the training, doesn't have to take the training, but has to take the test, how many times do they get in that 12-month period? So if they fail the first 2 times, or didn't pass the first 2 times, saying it positively, they would have to take the training. Once they completed that training, they could take the exam. If they didn't, again, pass it that first time, they could take it the second time within that time frame, is what I think we're trying to say. I'll rewrite this so that that's clear, that they have many opportunities to pass the exercise.
Mr. Chair and Cindy, thank you, because I think for a lot of us, this could turn into a union issue, obviously, and any, just really spelling it out here would really be helpful, so we appreciate that. Personally, I think very little, 4 cracks at it. We should consider, not letting it work in 911 if that's 4 times, so thank you.
This is Phil, and just to follow up on that, I really think from our conversation that we had at the committee level, that was the intent. The intent is at 4 times, even if you've worked from when my cat was new, then if you can't get it in those 4 times, this is not designed to be a PhD level test. This is an entry level test. They're PhDs when they get their local agency training, and bumped it up.
And we're more generous than baseball. So yes, I'll go ahead and reword that, and I'll let you and I will work on that, and that'll be available on the next release. So the next comment or the next change is in 1325-750 on page 43. We added a D that just essentially says the Office of the Statewide 911 Administrator shall post responses to frequently asked questions on its website. We've already identified topics that we're going to include there as a part of all this ongoing discussion we've had. Those will be updated on, some review basis. And then as something new presents itself, new ones will be added. The next section is 1325-780 on page 45. The question was on the continuing ed, is there a timeline from when the guidelines will be available? So, I'm projecting that we may have guidelines by the 4th quarter of this year. A lot will depend on, if we're ready to launch the learning management system, but I'm projecting no later than the first quarter of 26. But like most projects, it's a soft estimate. Procurement always adds, time frame, on stuff like this, so we'll just have to see how it goes. But that's what I'm projecting right now. Ideally, that would be optimum for all of us. The other thing in B was, really just an additional sentence about, each certified public safety telecommunicator supervisor shall complete a minimum of 24 hours of continuing ed every 2 years. This is in addition to the EMD continuing education requirements. It's not, you can use it for both, it's separate, because courses are different and the information is different. So that's clarifying that. Let's So the next comment is in 13, okay. All right, the next change is in 1325-790, record keeping and other requirements. On page 45, D1, we added a new section, section 1 that is new. This is relative to the exigent circumstances. A lot will depend on what we do with that. This may go away potentially, depending on what we do with that section, but this is what is proposed at the moment. That's the last one. So I would say, Mr. Chairman, we have a couple of things obviously we need to go back and look at, and we'll continue to do that. 2 down and
1 to go. So, yeah, we will try and turn around an updated version based on our discussion today, some potential language. I know our next board meeting is the 17th of November. You guys could all get me an early Christmas present if we could get to consensus on 1325 next month.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Do you want to take public comment on this section?
Yes, I do. Thank you, ma'am.
It was really felt. I agree with you.
Ryan Whitaker, St. Clair County. I just want to get clarification on a topic you just discussed regarding continuing education. You had mentioned that this was an addition to the EMD continuing education. So the 24 hours that you're already getting that meet those requirements, you're saying those same 24 hours can't be used? So we need to double our budgets as it relates to overtime and training and.
I mean, there are a number of ways to.
For instance, everybody that's come to this conference has earned continuing education, and it should absolutely qualify in both places. These shouldn't be 2 separate programs.
It's double dipping, isn't it?
No, absolutely not. We're trying to staff our centers, and now you're telling us to double the amount of time we're taking people out of our centers and double the cost it is to comply with the new training requirement.
I don't think we're saying that at all. I think there are a number of things that you could do internally in your center to offer training opportunities. It could be a worksheet. It could be, a video that they watch at their position. There's all kinds of creative things that can be done locally without sending anybody out. I'm not suggesting that, or we're not suggesting that you have to go outside or bring a trainer in and spend money to do it.
So who's going to approve what's allowable as that continuing education?
Well, your training coordinator is going to be the one that's going to be the approver of what's acceptable and not acceptable.
So it doesn't require a site code, it doesn't require anything from the administrator's office. We're just going to tell you, as the employer, they've completed 24 hours.
Certainly on the EMD side, they do require a site code. I don't know that we'll be that strict, but I will say that the learning management system, the intent is to track that continuing ed in that system. So you have the ability to say, hey, this is the topic that we're doing, and you'll show that, you know, each telecommunicator has completed it. I don't know that we want to go to the level of creating cycles like the IDPH does.
So if I may, Melissa, then maybe we should make a distinction between continuing education credits and training. Because you're kind of talking about a couple different things. Because a continuing education credit is something certified. If you're doing a training sheet or like we have monthly legal updates, but they're not certified as continuing education credits. So I think maybe we need to clean that up a little bit and specify.
Along those lines, just a little, which I'm gonna peg the needle just a little bit further. We haven't even got the certification done. And I 100% agree with you continuing ed, and I hear what Brian's saying, because I see both sides of that. Like, that it really does double down. It is 24, but if we don't get too granular with it, if I drive by the training room, I may have took an hour, so, okay. I wonder if we're trying to bite off too much. I really feel we have a good grasp on where certification is going. Do we want not 2 years, but do we want to work towards a year from now, building that, give us a year to build what that definition of continuing ed really looks like? Because whether you're a total response, APCO, or priority, it looks different for all three of those groups, I do believe. So maybe we try to blend all that together, and not try to force it into this and wait for a year from now to finish that. Nobody's gonna want to open this in a year.
And Mr. Chair, Ralph Caldwell, again, should we put something in here unless there's exigent circumstances? Because if I'm down 50% of my staff and I can't fill seats and I can't answer 911 calls, but you're requiring me to get continuing ed while I'm in this crisis, a staffing crisis, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Does the IDPH give you a special dispensation not to?
But you're adding additional training to it, is what I'm saying. So, no, they probably don't, and I'm sure not all centers are necessarily following that. I mean, if you're trying to fill seats and keep your head from the water and debris, maybe some people in this room or throughout the state haven't been able to do it. So I just don't want to take it underwater even deeper by putting, I don't want to say handcuffs on, but additional restraints on them if we don't have to. And again, I love the certification. I love, like what Phil said, let's wait a year, maybe figure out continuing it down the road. But right now, we're still trying to climb out of the hole. We just don't have enough people to fill all our seats. And I'd hate to see us hurt some of the centers throughout the state that are in that situation.
We'll do a thorough review.
Sorry.
Next public comment?
Do we have any additional public comment?
Good afternoon, my name is John Skate from Clinton County, and I feel like the person crying in the wind. Cybersecurity has been kind of my lifeline, and the only mention I saw of it in the whole part was it was an allowable for continuing ed, very important. But there's pages on pass-fail criteria for telecommunicators. No, we do not want unqualified telecommunicators. There's sections on physical security, very important, but that can take down one center. A breach of the EZNet core will take all of us down, and there's nothing in here pertaining to that. None of us, none of my comrades here, and none of you want that to happen. But there's little in here that is referenced that will take the entire system down. A breach of the EZNet will. There are 26 requirements for record keeping on us as 911 systems. On NG providers, there's 2 about report an outage and call activity. There's many documents out there. The Center for Internet Security, currently in version 8, is an excellent place to start. It is embedded by the industry, embedded by the government. Why are we not taking advantage of that? Because, as I said, nothing will take all of this down except a breach, a catastrophic collapse of the EZNet core. And there's not a syllable in here about it that I can find. Thank you very much.
Tino Purdue with AT&T. Appreciate the concern with cybersecurity. There's no question that it's a big issue, and the risk is significant. In our contract with the state of Illinois, we extensively describe what we are doing to ensure that the EZNet core is secure. And we follow those same requirements that you mentioned at the federal level, because we do participate. We are on the Homeland Security Board that oversees those criteria and develop them. And we appreciate that. That's absolutely true and important for us. So it may not be the rule, but it is in our contract and how we operate our network and these methods.
Is that something, and I'm not trying to get into things that are proprietary, but is that something that can be shared with us as the ultimate consumers of this system?
There is the contract, I believe the contract's available, but it's redacted without the pricing and all the other proprietary stuff.
There's a redaction.
Yeah, so there is a version that you can look at. Obviously, we don't get into, that version probably doesn't get into the greatest detail about how we protect that network, which we obviously no one wants us to do that. We wouldn't do that. But there is an explanation of what we do.
Is that something that could be shared with a vetted subgroup of us as the consumers? You know, that we can view it as the end user, a vetted group. I'm happy with that. But it's this block, this firewall, we're not seeing these things.
Right.
You know, if we trust them, then why do we have to get 26 items? Why don't you say, well, trust us?
Well, that's not our place to make that call, right? They're asking me to do something that I don't want to get involved with. That's between you and the state. Well, you know, I understand your concern and why you're help. The question of a better group of people to look at that and to have detailed information about how we protect our network, because it's not just the, it is the core network of the network, right? And we don't do that. We don't give out that information. We don't go into the detail of how we protect that because of the nature of the risk. Now, is there something specific when you look at the redacted version of the contract that you have questions on? Yeah, maybe we can sit down and talk about that, but not an open book on our cybersecurity technology. Does that make sense then? We're open to that.
The other thing I would say is we had originally a lot of cybersecurity language in here that we took out because I think CrowdStrike taught us that we have to be more nimble, and JCAR rules are hard to change and take a long time to change. So being specific, and we've argued a lot about the other things that pertain to us as well, like their 911 systems, because it's not easy to change, and we want, from a cybersecurity standpoint, to hold AT&T accountable in offense if something has to change, and if it's written specifically in the rules, we kind of hamstring them maybe with older versions of language. So we kind of removed a lot of that, but your point is well taken.
I can talk after this. I would love to. Okay.
The other thing is, as part of our contract with AT&T, I believe on an annual basis, we get your SOC 2 report as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are assurances that are made, which again, I don't know maybe you're familiar with SOC 2, but it gives us assertions that is certified by a firm that is independently evaluated, where their cybersecurity, amongst other things. Any other public comment?
My name is Kyle Smith, Wabash County, Illinois. I just have a general concern for the rules in here that are outside the purview of 911 concerning facilities and employees that aren't ours, especially while the Sheriff's Association position's been empty for 2 years. So how are we supposed to address things that we have no control over? And it's more, I don't necessarily need an answer right now. It's more just I want to voice my concern about that. Thank you.
Last chance for public comment.
Mr. Chair, one more question, Ralph Caldwell.
Sir.
Under D1 up there, we talk about probationary telecommunicators. We could have somebody that's fully trained that's still on probation. Are you considering those people are supposed to be accounted for? I mean, do we want the words probationary telecommunicator, or do we want fully trained, or is that just an oversight?
We're gonna look at that. I appreciate the feedback. We'll look and see if we, how we adjust that language.
Cindy, does that make sense to you, or Alicia? Because most of our people will be on training prior to, and this will be on probation though, but they're gonna be a full-fledged telecommunicator.
Right.
Whether it's an exigent circumstance or not, they're filling a seat and getting paid accordingly. I don't know if there's better wording you could use, fully trained or.
Accountant, we always use accountant. Once they're accountant, then they can do whatever. They can work any position.
Right, right.
Yeah, well.
Thank you. For sure. Our next item on the agenda is new businesses. There are new businesses boards where it's discussed. Hearing none, I will allow an opportunity for any general public comment now at this time.
Mr. Chair, this is John Ferraro. I just wanted to say, I don't know if this is your business, but I know everybody we talked to, and we have a nice audience here today. Thank you very much for having this meeting here after our conference. We really appreciate it.
Yes, I will also say that I very much enjoyed the last 3 days spending time at the conference. It was great to meet new faces, see familiar faces, and I just, I must say, you all put on a very incredible conference. So, if there is nothing further, I would take a motion for adjournment.
Second, Ralph Caldwell.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Sorry, Phil.